welcome back to Blocktv, where it is time for Pump or Dump. That's that point in time where we examine dominant news narratives of the week and see if we agree or disagree, meaning do we dump it, do we pump it, what do we do? So to do that, I am joined by Blocktv's crack team of reporters, starting with the one and only tech maven, Ron Spitzer, the boy that is the joy, Zachy Hennessy, there we go, Jona Hochhauser, whose name I love pronouncing, man with the eye on crime, and of course, thank God for Asher Westrop Evans. Where would I be without him? Blocktv's senior correspondent, the man with two last names. Now, 2 rounds, always. You get a minute to state your case. At the end of the minute, you might actually win a prize. If you've been here before, you know that's complete bullshit.
That's not true. I won a prize one time.
That's
one
true.
time.
Okay, round 1 it begins with, obviously, Asher. And we're going for safe haven versus raw enthusiasm. Your minute begins now.
I'll wait for the timer. All right, Yael. So the safe haven asset narrative was plugging all through cryptosphere last week. Bitcoin is a safe haven with all the tensions in the Middle East, US and Iran firing up. Everyone was flooding to store their assets into those safe haven reserves, gold, oil, all the classics. And Bitcoin saw a distinct bump. But as important as that narrative is, I think it's been superseded now, Yael, in the wake of a lowering of tensions with Iran. For now, yes. By the raw enthusiasm of the crypto markets as they head into 2020 towards that halving event. We've seen amazing predictions coming through. Adam Back has come out saying $100,000 Bitcoin in the near future. We've had Tom Lee of Fundstrat come out and say that he expects Bitcoin to go up by at least 100% in 2020. And analyst Joel Kruger, speaking here on Blocktv, who predicted the 2019 price almost to the letter, said we'd see a $15,000 to $20,000 price range come the end of the year. It's an exciting time to be in Bitcoin, Yael, and I'm pretty excited to be reporting on it.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, here's the thing.
No, yeah. My thing is, is it raw enthusiasm or are they all high?
They might all be high, but I think in general it's very easy. And I, you know, when I do Traders Take occasionally, or I'm speaking to Joe, I always say this: what do you care? Throw out a prediction. If you're right, you're a god. If you're not, who cares?
You're just one of the sphere.
Prediction.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to say about hype in predicting, and a lot of people say things. I generally like to dump price. I know Jona's on that bandwagon now too. So just because the enthusiasm was only related to price, I'm not agreeing with you, but for safe haven asset, there's a lot to say to that, and it makes me a bit happier. So I don't know how I feel about your argument.
I'd like to see the enthusiasm shift over a little bit from exclusively price.
Yeah.
Maybe I agree with you in that we should be discussing it, because if we talk about price long enough, maybe it'll scoot over and drip into other fields, such as
ultimately, I think the idea is if you build it, they will come.
I'm gonna tell you something, guys. I'm gonna fundamentally disagree with you, and I'll double down when Jona speaks with his. But the reason we're all here is because in 2017 the price hit 20,000. If in 2017 the price was still 1,000, I don't think we'd be sitting here right now. And I think we want to see those bumps.
And that proved that this space has something going for it, and that we should look into it. Do we still need to be talking about price?
Yes.
It's proven its value. No, I'm not saying we need to ignore it completely, but I'm saying we're only talking about price.
Guys, but once again, Zachy wins this round. And we are going to actually move ahead to Zachy with hard forks and whatnot versus, oh my God, I'm going to love this, comprehensible news. And your minute begins now.
What's a hard fork? It's something that you use to eat a very hard steak. Just kidding. I'm a layman. That's kind of my whole platform. The Zachy Hennessy, he's a layman. Put on a T-shirt. But so like when I'm drenched in the news, man, I tell you, it's sometimes a little hard to follow. There's always this hack. There's always that hack. There's KYC. There's ITO, ICO, IEO. It's hard to follow a lot of the news narratives that are going on here. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think in general what we need to do is we need to take these narratives that are these overarching narratives, and what we need to do is we got to take them and we got to say, let's boil them down a little bit. Let's get them into some easily followed through lines, some narratives that we can go along with, and that's what's going to get it into the hands of the layman's, and the layman's are where the power holds. So by bringing simplicity to the sphere, we can bring power to Bitcoin and the people in crypto and stuff.
Okay. Who understood that?
Weren't you striving for comprehensible news?
Yeah,
Because
what-
that was
what- what-
completely
what
incomprehensible.
was going on there?
When you're saying you're leaving, like the Lehman Brothers, because you're going out of business, man. I'm telling you this. Your issue here, we're not Sesame Street here, okay? We're talking big boy news. We're talking people here want to hear. They want to hear the technicals. They want to hear people. They know what ICOs are. They know what IEOs are. What do you want? You want to explainer videos?
Well, you just got to be able to. No, what I'm saying is you got to be able to have some identifiable folks that aren't just the same generic looking white dude in a sweater and have them.
That I can relate to.
Yeah.
That I can relate to.
Have
I mean,
some characters.
but
Have some people. If you talk about sports, there are a few people that you can say, oh, that's that guy. That's that guy. I can't because I don't look at sports. But what I'm saying is, if
no,
we
but
had
what you're
some
describing,
more,
first of all, comprehensible news. One can argue, what is comprehensible news? It's news that sells, right? Okay. Which actually, it's news that brings people to watch it, which is why we deal with price so much. I mean, let's be fair about this. Okay, that's what brings it in. But what would you do then?
here's what you do.
Please.
I'm so
I mean,
glad that you
I
asked.
love
He has
What you
one.
gotta
What
do
would you do?
is you create a mascot.
Okay.
Okay, and this mascot, you put him, it's like a Truman Show kind of situation. You get this mascot, full fursuit, whatever, and you have him be the face of all cryptocurrency. That's a great idea.
I did hear that Zaki had a thing for furries, but
was-
I know, but in the Truman Show,
Your idea is
Spirit, thank you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah.
And we are going to move ahead to Ron Spitzer with Burger King accepts crypto, thank God, versus payment processors. Okay, interesting. Your minute begins now.
So the reason I'm saying dump Burger King accepting crypto is not because I think that should necessarily be dumped. It's a great innovation. However, what are we thinking of? Okay, Burger King is accepting, but Burger King doesn't actually accept crypto. A payment processor is allowing Burger King to accept the cryptocurrency payment. So why not
Exactly.
up payment processors and the work that they're doing, because ultimately what's going to lead to mass adoption? Is it the fact that people can take cryptocurrency because these payment processors are working, or something else? Because let's be real, people aren't going to remember 28 digits. They're not going to remember numbers for cold storage. People aren't going to be in exchanges. Even more so, so the Block basically reported that, and this is an interesting headline, you take it for what you will, 12%, I hate even saying this, 12% of America's 100 biggest charity organizations accept Bitcoin, and many of those donations are actually being routed. You can see on the chart there by BitPay. Now, over 90% of these charities accept Bitcoin through third-party payment processors. It's just showing the necessity of payment processors. If these companies didn't exist, this wouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell
Please.
you. I'll tell you why I do agree with you. Of what's of more importance is the payment processor. But when we're talking about stories, you're fighting for attention in today's media landscape. And if you say payment processors aren't sexy, I could buy a Burger King's accepting Bitcoin. Ooh, I'll click on that. That's good. But you're right. Who's doing the real work? It's the payment processors. Who sells?
But not
Burger
even that, of course. That could be your into, hey, listen, you guys should pay attention to this thing. Hello, Burger King is. You know
Actually,
what I mean?
I was
And
going
that
to agree
last
with you,
week.
and at the end of the day, yes, you grab them with the headline, tell them the story within the piece. And the story is the payment processors, but entirely true.
Another thing that you could do is have like a mascot who kind of expresses the interesting
Your
aspects
time is over.
of
You were
So-
buzzed
payment
out.
How would you
processing.
dress that mask? Okay, there we go. Once again, Zaki.
you're a
Give it to
buzzer
me.
driver.
Say
Okay,
it.
but we are moving.
Zaki wins.
Now to Herr Hochhauser. We're not done. Yona coming to us today with price talks versus Dinwiddie on the block. Take it away.
Right, so I'm going to dump what Asher was selling. Listen, you're right. Price is, like I said, sexy. Price talks are sexy, but 2020 for me is the time of use cases. If you want to be the future of money, you have to be able to use that money, not just hold that money. How many people do you know walking around with gold? How many people do you know actually own gold? It might be a safe haven, but that's cool. It's great. I want it to be a safe haven, but I also want it to be used. I want it to be the future of money. On that note, Spencer Dinwiddie, the starting point guard until Kyrie Irving comes back for the New Jersey Nets, is releasing his SD8 coin. He's pretty much tokenizing his NBA contract and pretty much selling to accredited investors a minimum of $150,000 investments. They will be able to pretty much get a portion of his NBA contract. He's pitching it as a safe haven. I don't really know about that, but he's pitching it as transparency and liquidity. This could revolutionize the future of the blockchain by allowing people to invest in individuals.
Tokenize yourself might be the future, one can argue.
Exactly.
2 questions. How is it different than 2019 or actually 2018 or 2017 when we were all waiting for use cases? Yes.
So this is an applied case, you know what, and I credit it. So many have spoken for so long about, the tokenomics of tokenizing everything from, housing to stocks to anything out there in the world. And for a guy to actually be going out there and taking the initiative before sort of necessarily some of the other big institutions are coming into play, it's proving those use cases. It's actually getting out there and trying it, and it can be to his advantage and the advantage of his investors. But even if not, it's proving what works, what doesn't, and credit to him for taking the initiative.
So I'm actually of the belief that if it doesn't need to be tokenized, if it's not helping the world, then it shouldn't be tokenized. Even so, I think that this is great just because he really fought for this. Like this is a months and months of ongoing
in the
talks
works. Right.
with everybody and kind of posting to Twitter to get people to notice. And so that resilience alone is respect. And if this works, great.
It's
If
also
not,
PR for the sphere, one can argue. It's
Absolutely.
more of that. What do you need? You need a Kardashian.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He's a celebrity. He's a big name that people who might not know blockchain, they're starting to hear about it from him. Also, most importantly, this is SEC approved. It actually it goes according to SEC regulations, and so that's another thing. That there's a lot of scams with celebrities. This one, SEC looked it over, said okay.
And we're
and
doing that, and as you said, more names like that will bring more people.
Absolutely.
But a mascot.
That's the thing. So here's the thing. First of all, you have to wonder if the right thing to do is to stop talking about price, because price does bring attention, and with attention you can switch it over a little bit. But I did draw up just a little quick reference of what that mascot might look like. This is Boopski, the Bitcoin elephant, and as you can see, he's got like
Thank you. And we are moving along to the second round. Color it. We are moving along to the second round, which of course begins with Asher. Again, an interesting topic, especially at this time of the month. Asher, with stocks versus wages. Your minute begins now.
All right, so 2019 was a pretty bumper year if you were into the equities markets. I'm focusing here on the US primarily. But in equities markets, we saw the S&P 500 go up around 30% on the year throughout that period. A massive year, a bumper year, a booster year. You know what didn't go up a lot in 2019, Yael? Wages. Wages did not go up considerably during the year of 2019. In fact, we saw towards the end of the year that the year-on-year growth was below 3% for the first time since July of 2018. This sort of slow growth in wages when we've got unemployment down at 3.5%. That's the lowest in 50 years. Why wages aren't growing is actually seems to be a mystery to economists out there. No one seems to be able to put their finger on the buzzer of it, Yael. But certainly you could say that inflationary economic policies, the Cantillon effect, which I suggest everyone go out and learn a little bit about. All these elements could be impacting the stagnant wage growth that we're seeing against your classic wage earners in the US. And while those with big money to invest are doing well, your average man isn't.
That 1% would be the answer as to why wages are not going up. And indeed, it's been a 50-year swing of the economy rising in the United States. Why aren't we hearing enough about wages?
I mean, I think it's getting a little overshadowed. You are right that the stagnation of wages is of note. I think it's been getting overshadowed by the positive news that, hey, the stock market is higher and higher and higher than it's ever been. So there's as well as unemployment's at also super low. So I think there's an overriding feeling of optimism right now, and so people kind of don't want to hear that, hey, the wages aren't rising.
But it's all well and good to have employment, but if you're not getting your fair share.
If you don't want to hear things, I mean, that's the whole reason we've all gathered here today, is to tell people those stories, is to tell people what's going on.
And that's why I think that blockchain, and kind of the story I just said, where the Spencer Dinwiddie is actually tokenizing his contract. Hey, speaking about that 1% that's making those big bucks, this gives the opportunity for the little guy to actually get a cut of that. To actually
you got to have wages. You got to have wages in the first place in order to be able to go out and invest.
They have wages.
But they're not growing in proportion to the rest of the economy. You've got an economy that is booming, record levels being beaten. So
but
it
the
needs
only
to
people
be.
who are benefiting from it are essentially the ones.
And that can lead to economic stagnation.
I'm talking about spending power.
Right.
Right now,
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, wages.
No, you're talking about wages. I'm talking about spending power. I'm talking about the ability now where things are coming down. The economy's a scale. It's a global economy. Right now, I could buy a toy that's a motor in it from China for pennies. Where once, when it was built in U.S., maybe higher quality, it was more expensive. The entire dynamics of the economy have changed since they moved to on a global scale. You can't compare these things. It's like apples and oranges. They're both fruit.
They've changed considerably in which the proportion of wealth has distributed massively towards one end.
But the standard of living overall has gone higher. So
No, the
instead
standard
of
of living overall has not gotten that higher.
Incorrect.
If you're looking at what happened, less people own homes at the beginning. As
the millennials
than
have
they
just
did.
been labeled as the largest and poorest
that's a result
generation.
of people being more urbanized and moving into the cities. Yeah, it's harder to own an apartment. If you move to the urban areas, if you're willing to move to the urban areas, you could own a home.
We will respectfully agree to disagree because I really am wondering if Zachy colored that mascot.
Oh, I didn't.
No, you didn't. Okay, so we're just going to move on to you with Neon District.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a seller. Your minute begins now.
Yo, I've been talking about this game, Neon District, for like a year. But here's the thing. It's coming out, I think, next week. January 27th it's coming out. And it's a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Forget all the mascots. Forget all the price talks. Forget all the wages versus stocks, okay? Because this is what's going to bring the talk of blockchain to the mainstream if it's good. You got based around blockchain is this game. It's if they pull it off correctly, then it brings to the awareness of the gamers, which are kind of a large demographic, the idea that blockchain technology is good and works. And if it's good and works, then more people are going to want to include it into their games, and from there, mass adoption, et cetera, et cetera. Additionally, it's drenched in the lore. It's got the lore in it, It's got that good stuff. It's got these trading card battle mechanics that you love to see. Slay the Spire, it's a game that recently had that, made it very popular. Whatever, it's going to be a good game, and if it's not, then that sucks, but if it is, then that's great.
Well said.
Not really.
No, I'm actually going to agree with you because I've been pumping use cases. So whether or not it works, we'll see. But if it does work, gaming could potentially be a very big vertical for blockchain. Now, no one has implemented it correctly yet, but they will find it. I think they will find it.
Side note, some people have implemented it correctly, in my opinion, which is Immutable, who have done Gods Unchained.
Tradable
which
card
is
games.
Pretty much exclusively the only good blockchain game that I'm aware of as of today.
Correct.
It's a game that includes blockchain as opposed to isn't Neon District aiming to be a little bit more well-rounded?
And
in the
I'm actually getting buzzed in my ear, but gaming is an amazing topic.
Yeah.
Oran, let's move to you.
Cool.
Okay, price swings versus Samsung blockchain pay system.
Right. So
Your minute begins now.
Yeah. So, Yona and I are on the bye-bye prices bandwagon. Asher disagrees. That is, your prerogative. Enjoy. But basically, Samsung is building or developing a blockchain payment system. So Samsung, along with Cineverse, they're called, not actually Samsung before anybody gets angry, Samsung SDS, the ICT arm of Samsung to be very specific.
Okay.
And Cineverse, a telecommunications service company, have collaborated to develop a blockchain-based platform to enable mobile payments between mobile carriers and enterprises. Look how they're fitting everybody in there into one, just developing all together. The team says a common platform will be built to be compatible with any mobile operator, and users can send money, loyalty points, cryptocurrencies to other users or merchants worldwide. And the point is ultimately is Libra who? Because what they're doing here is exactly what's been talked about. What is difference? There's no, if you have your crypto, it's sending. The only thing that Libra is doing is that they want you to use their wallet. So with these developments, things are shifting for Libra slowly. My time is up.
No,
I'm going to keep going. So when Libra came out, all they had essentially was that they were the only mainstream company doing this, Facebook essentially. And now look, Samsung is doing the same.
Samsung's using the technology to actually enable better
and
payments.
any cryptocurrency, right? I mean, this hasn't been developed or released yet, but they're saying no basket.
I know, which
no
begs the question
stablecoin.
actually for 2020, let's put price aside for a second and everything else. Actually, is Libra dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Ain't nobody talking about it no more. It might come back with like a new, like a 2.0 kind of sexy veneer on it, but it's.
But I think
in the ground.
I think this also brings up an important conversation about a shifting regulatory and international landscape. Like, we can see the US trying to format themselves and figure out where they are regulatory in terms of Libra. The rest of the world is moving on with or without them, and you're going to get that shifting. And if Libra and Facebook can't act on themselves, and others are going to go run with the idea and say, fine, if you guys can't do it, we'll do it in our
Sure,
jurisdiction.
we're also sitting here on the dawn where, apropos Mark Zuckerberg is talking about decentralization, using that word in his promises for the Roaring '20s. So one can assume that maybe he's going to be heading the same way. But who knows?
It's going some way. It's not what they announced.
No, it's definitely not what they announced.
In some way, but Samsung's being.
According to the Swiss. But we cannot end this without Yona Hochhauser and his second round theme, which is price talks versus Kashmir on the block.
Right. So I already dumped the price talk. I don't have to say it again. Zaki, feel my jacket. How's that feel to you?
Feels great.
It feels great. You know what could feel better? It feels made out of cashmere.
Absolutely.
You know what? 40% of the world's cashmere comes from Mongolia. Now, yes, it does. Now, here's the thing. When blockchain first came out, it was really pitched as this decentralization of things, putting the power amongst all the people. Kind of what Asher was saying, where the power, the money has kind of become centralized, where a very few percent has a lot of the assets, a lot of the money. But in recent years in blockchain, we've stopped talking about empowering the little guy. What happened? Facebook and these big organizations, Ethereum, it became very centralized, maybe the power it's seeming. So this is why I like Conversions Tech, which is a app startup, is empowering Mongolian nomads who actually take care of the sheep, actually grow the cashmere. They're empowering them to actually list their cashmere on the blockchain for fair trade, fair treatment, and you're able to see exactly where your cashmere is soft. This is empowering the little guy.
This is similar to what we saw come out of, was it Brazil with the coffee recently?
Very similar. This is becoming a very good use case for the blockchain,
Right.
empowering the little people who put in the hard work for the luxury products of
For that
the rich.
1% who want to walk into Bloomingdale's and
Exactly,
buy their
but-
pink soft cashmere sweater.
With a QR code.
Exactly.
They can check where it came from.
But supply chain and logistics management has always been an absolute key to blockchain. It's always stood out, excelled beautifully there. So like this use case, it seems like a natural development of so much. Good to see it's being applied to these smaller spaces. I still think the price is important, but we won't go back into that argument.
But up until now, we've seen Walmart and IBM, Food Trust with it. I like that we're starting to see this promised land of the little guy, actually, the decentralization of power.
You're starting
by
to see
blockchain.
concepts for it, but how much is it actually working so far?
Well, this is look. They just finished
Good
the
question.
pilot program. 40% of the world's cashmere comes from Mongolia, and the cashmere is raised by Mongolian nomadic tribes that don't have access to this infrastructure. And now they're through a simple Android app, they're able to digitize all their cashmere.
What are they up in the Himalayas with fucking 5G, and they're able to?
Most people have smartphones.
Now, I just
Surprised
want to
who
say,
has
Nana, but what
smartphones.
we're going to do is actually, if your mascot, Zaki,
Yeah.
okay, had a Mongolian sweater
Yeah.
Made of cashmere.
made of
There he
cashmere,
is.
there we go.
There's Boopski.
Dude, you could trace
Give me a
that
zoom in on
Mongolian
Boopski.
Boopski's Mongolian cashmere sweater
This is
all the way back. We're terrible to our
That's my
people.
signature.
I want you all to raise your hands and glasses if you don't have a glass. And thank you very much for being with us today. This was the Kraken team of Blocktv. Last I checked, that was Yael Levine. We'll be right back.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.